Okay. This is a small question which is on dealing with burnout because there are a lot of things, a lot of articles, a lot of stuff, a lot of overwhelming information which is there out there, and you can feel totally burnt out because there is a lot to learn, a lot to do. And even here, you have a bunch of assignments on one side, you have the project going on one side, and all that stuff.
UX.
So the most important thing I'll tell you, which will really help you in the situations of burnout, because I face it a lot of times. If you really know my life, you'll understand what burnout means. So, so yeah, often burnout really happens not really because of the situations situations. It looks like the situation is what is really causing the burnout. It's not really that. It's actually your the ambiguity your brain is actually giving you, your mind is actually giving you, is what really makes you feel burnt out. Okay, I'll tell you what it means. If you have clarity of thought on how to move forward, difficult situations really don't burn you out, frankly speaking. You might be tired. Oh, that's a different thing. I'm feeling tired is different from feeling burnt out. Feeling burnt out is like feeling lost and like I just want to skip all this and like free my brain out of this, or probably just escape out of all these things, is how we'll start feeling. And our most natural instinct when we are in that is to literally escape and put our brain out of that situation, and probably watch some Netflix and all that stuff, right? Which also kind of helps because you're really putting your brain out of the mind, out of that very overwhelming situation. But that's not the root way to address this problem, because when the moment you come back to it, you're still overwhelmed. Watching that Netflix probably gives you a little, like probably you sleep and wake up, gives you a little more fresher feeling, but you'll not really be out of that burnt out feeling because the tasks are still really sitting at your head. So the root problem to solve is to come from the situation of being in ambiguity to come to clarity. Remember this. I am basically overwhelmed and burnt out because, or don't know, I don't have the clarity to deal with the situation which I am in right now. Further, the first thing is you need to accept that your situations can be very ambiguous, because as a designer, the main problem you're trying to solve is ambiguity. You can't become a designer, you can't become a successful designer if you don't know how to deal with ambiguity, because every problem you'll be solving tomorrow in your career as a designer is going to be ambiguity, right? It's not like they'll tell you exactly where to place a button or tell you what element to use. That's not how UX design works. So there'll be a lot of ambiguity. First thing is you have to accept that ambiguity is common. Be it UX design or be it in your life, ambiguity is very common. Second thing is to understand how can I drive to get into the clarity. Ambiguity is common, the first line. The second line is how do I go towards clarity in this particular situation? So, small pause. Clarity doesn't mean that you know everything perfectly. That's not what clarity means. Okay. You don't. That's the point of ambiguity. I mean, it's not like it's a switch. I'm confused. I don't know how to approach things. And the answer to that is not that I know everything. I have the answer to everything. I'm perfectly aware of everything. No, that's not what the solution is. You can't be in that stage. The only answer is to come to clarity of how to deal with your current situation, which way to go forward with, how to navigate. This is basically like you're playing a sport, you're playing a game, you're the ambiguity you're there in. I mean, let us say you're playing some football, you are in an ambiguous situation. Anyone can attack from any side, the goals and all, and not really in your control. You will be running and all that stuff. But if you do not have clarity of thought and the strategy you have for you to go and play that game, it will be very overwhelming. You will be very scared and you will be definitely lost and probably even quit the game. But the answer to that is I know exactly where to run at what point of time. No sports player ever knows about this. That's not the answer to this question. The answer is simple. What is the strategy in which I'll approach my current situation? That clarity of thought is what will really help you out, right? I'll give you a very practical tip. What I do over here is something I call as brain dumping. Yeah. So brain dumping means, so whenever you're in a situation of ambiguity, your brain is literally presenting hundreds of things to you at one single point of time, and you want to solve all of them at one time, in one time, right? Which is not possible. Our brains do not work like that. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to separate, we trying to figure out what are all the issues we have and trying to remember all of those issues at one point of time, and also trying to solve all these issues at one point of time. We need to separate out these things. So what we need to do is simple. Exercise is brain dumping. What does this mean? You go take a board or a paper or whatever, just dump everything which comes into your mind in random places. Don't put them in an order. Don't write them in a list. Because when you're trying to put them in a list, your brain is also doing two kinds of things. One, trying to put things, and also trying to put things in an order, in a meaningful order. Two things, again, is very overwhelming. That's when a lot of people, we don't like lists. To-do lists always fail, right? All of you relate to that. We never really can make very good to-do lists because you're trying to you're dumping stuff and also organizing at the same point of time. Therefore, it doesn't work. So it has to be random. Randomly keep putting things in different places of the paper, no necessary order, right? And do it for some time. Let all the thoughts just be on paper. The moment you do it, you'll start feeling a little free. You'll be like, hey, you know what? I have all my thoughts sitting on paper. It's really great. And now all I need to do is go and solve these individual problems and all that stuff, right? Now what you do is now go and organize them, right? When you organize, you attack or whatever, all you need to do is give priorities. This is something which everyone does. Any organization, any company or individual, any successful person whom you want to be inspired by, all of us, anyone, work with priorities. Because we know we can't solve all our problems in one go. We can't do everything in one go. You don't. Priorities, right? However, you want to prioritize. There are multiple frameworks for you to go and prioritize what you have to do. Prioritize. The moment you prioritize, even if something really comes to you and you're like, hey, you know what about this? You're like, hey, no worries. You go to your priority. I'm working right now on my first priority, second priority. Time will come for that priority. Or might not never come, but you're not worried because you're always working on something which is of priority, right? You'll be worried if you do not know whatever comes, you're just trying to solve it at that particular point of time without any order, without anything. Yeah, so this is the way you kind of come out of burnout.